Welcome to Global Entrepreneurship Week and Day 7, the grand finale of 7 days of free webinars, especially tailored for rural Australia. We've had a big week covering a lot of topics. So today we're going to touch on all of these and follow up with a few questions that have been sent in to me. So thank you everyone for your interest. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kerry Anderson. I was raised in small business in a rural town and have owned a number of small businesses myself. Currently, I am working with rural towns across Australia with the Operation Next Gen program. I also speak, conduct workshops, research, community engagement, anything to do with rural communities. So please feel free to contact me if you'd like to know more. And yes, I have written a book, Entrepreneurship, It's Everybody's Business. So today's conversation, we'll be recapping our week-long conversation. Global Entrepreneurship Week is in its 10th year, originating in the United States and spreading worldwide. I first decided to start doing something as part of this celebration 4 years ago when I Googled what was happening in Australia. Apart from an after-hours drink cruise on Sydney Harbour, there really wasn't much that was relevant to rural communities. Thankfully, there's a lot more happening these days. So often rural communities are pushed aside in important conversations. We don't have the density of population or the numbers to support and make us important. But those of you who do live in a rural community know that we have just as much potential and drive for success. In fact, it could be argued because of all the adversity we face in rural Australia, we are more innovative and entrepreneurial. And we know that every individual who creates new business in rural town is helping to strengthen rural Australia. So let's get into a quick recap of the topics we have covered. We started off by discovering that entrepreneurs come in many shapes and forms. It could be someone in your household or someone that lives next door to you. We discussed how entrepreneurs are essentially problem solvers. They have the ability to look at existing landscapes with fresh eyes. While they don't necessarily respond well to a traditional education, they are avid researchers until they become experts in their topic of interest. And they are so passionate and have such a high belief in their ideas that while many consider them to be risk takers, I beg to differ. They know exactly what they are doing. So one of the questions emailed to me during the week was, how can we encourage entrepreneurs to be active in our community? Well, let's start getting over this tall poppy syndrome. When someone aspires to be successful and profitable, give them your support and admiration. Don't cut them down or let others do so. Know that their success is your town's success. In fact, our whole country's future is depending on individuals creating new business. How else can we continue to enjoy our high standard of living? Everything from education to welfare is only made possible by a profitable business sector. One of the hardest things for me to understand is technology, and yet I do know that it is providing a greatest opportunity for future careers. Encourage new ideas even if you don't fully understand them. That is what entrepreneurship is all about, creating something new or doing something in a different way. And when someone does fail, understand that this is part of the learning process. None of the world's greatest entrepreneurs succeeded with their very first idea, and indeed they continue to fail as they explore new ideas. On day 2, we talked about the perceived startup barriers to getting started in business. And we came to the conclusion, yes, capital can be tricky. Having the right capacity or skills to carry out a new business can be tricky. But the biggest inhibitor is in actual fact ourselves and our confidence to go into business. But confidence can be gained by getting out in the workplace and learning from others. Research, see how other businesses operate. You can even volunteer your services in order to learn if necessary. Gather a group of trusted mentors around you. Find out who does something particularly well and shout them a coffee so you can ask some questions. People are quite flattered if you approach them, and you'll be surprised how happy they are to put some time aside to help you. So at the end of the day, just do it, is my advice. What alternative is there to a bank loan was another question asked. Business loans are incredibly hard to get unless you have assets to offer as security, and not everyone has assets or wants to put their family home at risk. Recently, I facilitated a conversation with 3 dynamic businesswomen as part of International Rural Women's Day, and they all had different tips in this regard. Jenny Finn from Factory and Field simply started off small, buying stock with her personal credit card. She sold out first night of opening, and those profits funded the next round of stock until she got on her feet. Lauren Mathers from Bundoora, Berkshires, took the crowdfunding path. You can offer a product or service through advanced sales. In her case, she wanted to invest in a commercial kitchen to further develop their product range. And Andrea Harrison from Gew A Kids turned her back on the banks and has found short-term finance through an online lender. And there's many of them out there in the market. Prosper is just one of them. While the rates are higher, they are far more accessible and good for short-term solutions. Day 3, Michael Kerr from Kerr Capital talked to us about the benefits of buying an existing small business in rural Australia. For a start, the benefit is that an existing business, the runs are already on the board, which can be useful when it comes to getting finance. And one of the most interesting aspects of this conversation is the reminder that many businesses are for sale, but they might not be advertised. With an ageing population, there are many small business owners thinking about retiring, but they're just so busy in their businesses, they never get around to getting organised to advertise it or get it prepared for sale. Professionals like Michael will help guide you in either buying or selling a business, but be aware that a casual conversation with a business owner could open up many new possibilities for you. One of the big questions Michael was asked was, how do you value a business, whether you're wanting to sell it or buy it? Well, there's a fairly basic formula. For a start, there's the question of assets. If there are buildings and equipment involved, what is the value of these? And these should already be listed on the depreciation schedule in their books, or you can look at what's the going rate is for a property of that nature or equipment if you bought it new. Stock is usually valued at the time of sale in a stock take, but an estimate can and should be provided. You can also specify a maximum amount that you want to pay for stock if budget is an issue, so the existing owners can deliberately run down their stock close to the settlement date, giving you the opportunity to buy a new stock of your preference. Then there is the goodwill or value of the operating business itself. Typically, this is a multiplication of the profit over a period of between 1 and 4 years. Once again, you can determine whether the asking price is valid by looking at their books, and these should be made available to you. And I highly recommend taking it to an experienced accountant to get their opinion. At the end of the day, whether you are buying or selling, it comes down to what you think is a fair price given your circumstances. And understand that there is always room for negotiation in a respectful way. Can your business afford not to be online? Was the question we discussed with Elise Brown of Fair Dinkum Dog Coats on day 4. Elise explained to us how she took an existing wholesale business to an online direct retail business. The result was truly astounding. She now manufactures 50% less dog coats each year, but in actual fact makes over 30% more profit, which is a pretty good result. We talked about how people now commonly research a product or service online before making contact. And if you don't have some kind of digital footprint, this can put your business well behind the others that do. Some of you wanted to know a bit more about the options of creating a website. Not all of us have those technological skills, but there is always someone in your community who does. You can go the high-end web designer option and spend over between $10,000 and $20,000, or you can be content with the basic option that you can update yourself. In my instance, I've used Squarespace, which essentially bought me a choice of template and an online help update desk, which I've been able to muddle along on my own, and I find that really useful. There are also other options that don't have to cost you any money whatsoever. You can set up a free WordPress blog, which essentially provides you with a web presence. You can also list yourself on other people's web directories, and sometimes your local shire has a list of businesses available. Just make sure you have some kind of web presence when somebody Googles your business. Some business ideas are just so big for one person to take on, and it requires a group of people, or indeed a whole community, to pitch in to make it a reality. Anne Jury from the award-winning Bakery on Broadway and Witchy-Proof talked about how a group of people with no bakery experience whatsoever, they were farmers, teachers and truck drivers, have made an idea a reality by forming a company. Cooperatives are another popular way for rural communities to retain a valuable service or to collectively increase their bargaining power. And I mentioned the Farming Together program. They have a fabulous cooperative builder tool that you can log in. You don't even have to log into. It's there for you to download and to follow. So just Google Farming Together program and look for their co-op builder tool. Whether you're in agriculture or not, it's a great resource to use. So we highly recommend collaboration. Sonia Wright, yesterday from the Operation Next Gen Kahuna Group, talked about the joy of a new group of people taking on a leadership role in their rural town. As we discussed, Operation Next Gen is all about new conversations with new people in new places. It is very much about the local community taking control of its own destiny. And when presented with adversity like drought or the dairy crisis, asking what can we do, not going down the negative pathway. One of the questions I was asked is, how do you get an Operation Next Gen in your community? So there's a few basic steps, and the very first one is understanding whether your community is actually prepared for an Operation Next Gen program. Are the current leaders willing to step aside and let a new group of people start a new conversation? And we usually do that by me coming and doing a public presentation, talking about Operation Next Gen, getting all the stakeholders together to think, is this something we're committed to? Because it is a big investment of time and money. If there is a positive response to that presentation, we form an advisory committee of stakeholders, and basically they are the people who assist Operation Next Gen to identify the ambassadors. What we're looking for are between 10 and 20 well-networked, well-respected people, not already in leadership roles, but who are potential leaders and would be really interested in taking part in new conversations in new places with new people. As part of the 1 to 2 year facilitated program, We undertake skills development with those people. We have conversations about how can we look at our existing landscapes with fresh eyes. What innovation can we bring to our community that will help strengthen us into the future? And that's taking into account all the digital technology that is available to us. It's very much about building on the strengths of the community and seeing what new opportunities are there. It's very much about a community taking control of their own destiny. And as we heard from Sonia, it has been a wonderful outcome for Kahuna in the fact that so many in the community will take a positive slant and take ownership and get in there and try new things, which is fabulous. So I'm very happy for anyone interested in the Operation NextGen program to contact me and get some more details. And certainly I'm available to talk to you about any aspects of strengthening your rural community with an emphasis on entrepreneurship. So I thank everybody for their questions and participation through the week. Rural Australia has made its mark on Global Entrepreneurship Week 2017. Keep up the good work and the good conversations, everyone.